Hello, everybody. This is an update for you guys on what we've been up to uh, and the baby, because car. Let me show it. Hot Wheels are winning right now. Oh, and this one, the blue bus. Is that okay? You want to show them? Here. Scoot the table back so I can hold you. Come here. Oh, goodness. Blue bus. So we are currently in Athens, Greece, the capital city, and we've been here for 2 weeks. Exactly, actually, I think, yes. Today makes day number 15. So, baby, don't drop it. Part of what we've been doing here has been some hardcore sightseeing because Greg, my husband, was able to join us for 4 whole days, 3 nights. So that was really nice. And we got to do a lot of sightseeing with him. He's never been to Greece, never been to Athens. So we rented a car and drove Dad around and showed him some of the highlights. And then we needed to recover from that because that was super busy and exhausting and hot and long days. And we've also been in a public hospital with antibiotics for Lux, whose leg is still not 100%, still small infection. His groin is still trying to fight the infection, his lymph nodes in his groin. So I'm not sure how we'll proceed with that right now, but it's not getting worse. It's getting better. So that's something. I'm going to roll with that while I can. Also, we have been doing school, and we tend to school all year round, despite all of our friends getting out of school in the last few weeks. Luckily, the boys don't have Facebook, so it's very hard. It would be hard for them to see, but we are contemplating our next school year and what that's going to look like for us, and how much travel will be involved, how much time in North Carolina will be involved, where we're going to live. These are some of the conversations Greg and I had to have while he was here, and then, of course, we barely were able to touch on them with the kids being awake and up and all of that jazz. So those are email conversations I'm currently having with my husband. We have I think, a good plan, nice tentative plan between now and December, but we don't have a house to go back to in North Carolina. And he is returning sometime in August, and we'll start that house hunt. In theory, we're still not completely convinced that we're buying, and we're not completely convinced that we're not. So Greg is going to scope it out for a little while. And then he is going to take his post-deployment leave and meet us in Germany. That's the plan. Anyway, obviously, it's subject to change 15 times between now and the next time you hear from me because of the Marine Corps and our kind of laissez-faire travel situation. But the current plan is for him to meet us in Germany. He's been learning German on the boat, which was super helpful to me because I took 2 semesters of German and know about 5 words, and I really dislike the German language. So that's my little cultural snippet. I'm really bad at German, so bad at German. Anyway, so our current plan is we have about 2.5 weeks left here in Greece, and then we're moving on to Italy. Right now, we're all just kind of resting up and enjoying our apartment that's really nice and very spacious and the biggest place we'll have until we find a new place in the US, and enjoying the sunshine and the beach and the very slow coffee-filled mornings, because our first 2 weeks in Italy are going to be incredibly busy and fast and heavy on the tourism and lots of traveling. If you want to get in front of the computer, see that little light? That's what's recording you. Roads. Anyway, and So, okay, I'll take the computer back. Thank you. What are you doing? With this? So we're just taking it easy right now in the hopes that everyone will be ready for Italy because it's going to be busy. And then from Italy, we're going to go to Germany and hopefully meet Greg and be in Germany for a while, 4 to 6 weeks probably. And then from there, we may or may not go back to Mexico, thinking that we probably will. And then back to Missouri, Kansas to see family and celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of that, those lovely things that we can only do with family. And that's basically the plan. Sometime after Christmas, maybe before Christmas, and then go back for Christmas. We'll have a house, I don't know, in North Carolina. I have no idea, actually. And we have zero plan as to where that's going to be or what that's going to look like. But are you thirsty? Okay. But some things that are changing is that we're going to try to enroll the oldest 2 boys in a forest school a couple days a week in Missouri. Can you get anything? Here, tip your head. Which I still haven't heard back from those people yet, but we're going to incorporate it somehow this fall and then hopefully enroll them in the spring in the only forest kindergarten, nature school, whatever you want to call it, in North Carolina near us. So for a 2 or 3 day a week program and then homeschool the rest of the time. Boys. Okay. Here. One of the lovely things we have found here in Athens in our big supermarket up the road is Kerrygold cheddar, which my kids are devouring basically for breakfast because I'm the only person that really eats eggs. So looks like I'll be alone again for breakfast. But we're going to try to do more forest school. The boys are definitely happier out in nature. Always happier out in nature. Even here, when Lux is having a hard time in the apartment or indoors, just getting him outside usually helps, but getting him secluded in nature helps tremendously. So when we were having a hard time a couple weeks ago, we were able to go to Mycenae, which is in the Peloponnese, and he was able to run amongst trees and rocks and really feel alone, which has been an interesting part of this journey is that I feel alone a lot because my only interaction is the kids most of the time. But for the boys, they're constantly around each other and on top of each other and living in very close quarters. So they seem to be happiest when we are able to find that one sweet spot somewhere where we have a park to ourselves or we're standing on top of Mycenae alone. Those kinds of places are really special and have been really beneficial to everybody's psyche this trip. But onward from here, it's Italy, starting in Venice for a very fast 48 hours because I can't afford to stay in Venice. So it was the cheapest flight in, but in hindsight, it would have been probably more beneficial to fly in somewhere that costs a little more money to fly into, but the cost of living was a little bit lower so that we could actually stay and enjoy it. But Lux is very committed to wanting to ride a gondola. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be his birthday week. Yeah, close. Yep. So we're going to ride a gondola and then go from there by train, more than likely, to Florence. And then from Florence, we'll be in Florence for a few days, 5, I think. And then from Florence to the castle that I'm working at for a few weeks. So Lots of exciting things. The castle will be an interesting dynamic because we are we have an apartment inside the castle, but we don't really have access to groceries. Under the impression it's a really expensive taxi ride into the closest village with a grocery store. Whoops, computer's dying. 2 seconds. So I've been told to stock up when we get to the train station. The grocery store's next door, so stock up and they'll pick me up in the car. But otherwise, I might be able to get a ride into town once a week, maybe. So the food situation will be really interesting. Luckily, the area is stunning, so I'm hoping that they also have a restaurant. They have a restaurant in the castle. We're not going to start it up, but cost effective wise, I need to cook as much as I can. So, but the castle itself has a playground and a trampoline and a swimming pool and hiking trails. So there's plenty to do. And I think that if we're out of the apartment most of the day, snacking won't be occurring as much as it is. So maybe we won't need as much food. Um, but the way that's going to work, I'm doing an archaeological survey and just some historical, investigation, so to speak, of the grounds. So we will do that early in the morning, as early as we can, in the hopes that we beat some of the heat and spend our afternoons by the pool. That's the hope. So we'll see. Um, but we'll be there through July 31st. And then from there, we're just going to move down the coast through southern Italy and go to Rome and Pompeii and Sorrento, down through Sicily, and from there make our way to Germany, either by commercial flight or by space day from Sigonella in Sicily, and just go from there. But Germany's going to be a blast, and the weather will be cooler, and summer will be officially over. And we have no plans there other than we've made some military friends who offered us an apartment for very little. So we're going to live there and play there and sightsee on the weekends the best we can. And that's about it, guys. This journey is half over. As far as our international stay, we're down to somewhere in the 14-week range, which puts us over the halfway mark of being abroad here. If we tack on Mexico, which we probably will, we are officially at halfway. So we'll see. There's some things that we miss a whole lot and some things we don't miss at all. Things that we miss, obviously, are English-speaking friends. We are very social creatures. And, as much as I enjoy my down days at home with coffee and little interaction, when it's missing, it's very loud. So, that's been greatly, greatly missed. Things we also miss are obvious things like taco seasoning, organic, anything. That's been a really hard transition for me to go from essentially supernatural living, cloth diapering, organic everything, homemade everything, to not even being able to read a label. Can't read a label. So we are just in survival mode, and I'll be hitting that hard when we get back. We picked up some great habits and some awful habits. One thing that I kicked is I only have like 2 cups of coffee a day. They're standard sized cups of coffee, and I don't die without it. I also have very little, if any, creamer, and the creamer is like milk, not cancer-causing, carcinogenic coffee mate. That's delicious. None of that. We eat no frozen food, which is interesting, which is essentially Greek, all in and of itself. The Greeks eat nothing frozen. If you go to the grocery store, you can find French fries, shrimp, and maybe a bag of vegetables, but They don't freeze anything. It's fresh all the time, which is a wonderful habit. But as a meal planning mother, and as like in the US, we have deep freezes everywhere. People here do not do that. No one has a deep freeze. I'm sure somebody does, but I've not met that person. Um, and then they would know what I was talking about if I mentioned it. So, we've picked up some really good habits. The coffee creamer, lack thereof, is a good habit. So it makes my heart hurt. I miss my coffee creamer. And the lack of frozen things, obviously walking everywhere is an excellent habit, though exhausting, but excellent habit. It has motivated me to find a place to live that is close to a market or anything. So that way we have a reason to walk to it. Excuse me. In the US, everything's so far apart that you can't walk reasonably. I mean, I'm talking like within a mile to anything. So that has been a huge change, but for the better. It also forces you to pick and choose what you want to buy because you don't have a car to lug it into. So there's no overbuying at all by any means. I have to grocery shop every 3 or 4 days, and I basically grocery shop for the same things over and over again because there's no way for me to get it back. If I were to be like, okay, today, sure, pick out whatever you want. No, that would never happen. I actually dread the days that I'm like out of dish soap or detergent or shampoo because they're so heavy and they take up so much space in my basket. So those are things that in the US we would never think about, that are a constant reminder here. What am I actually capable of carrying with the baby on my back and making sure 2 other kids don't get run over? Not that much. I mean, a lot by Greek standards. They all gasp when they see me walk out of the store, but not a lot. So that's been very interesting, but a good habit nonetheless. Other things we miss, craft supplies. They're hard to find and they're expensive. So my really creative child that wants to build things all the time is struggling in that department. I mean, we have supplied him with some things. I can find glue sticks and tape and paper, but that's about it. We miss bikes and strollers, outside toys, yards. We miss a lot of things. But we love it here too. It's really hard. I don't miss the American mindset at all. The Greeks just don't think like the Americans do. And for the better, there's a lot of things Americans do, not just Americans. There's a lot of things the Western world does that is just so shallow, for lack of a better word. And I suffer from it too, but there's so many things that are put into huge perspective here that would just never happen in an American home. I'm living here without a dryer or a dishwasher for it's been 4 months now, for a long time. And I don't think twice about it anymore. I actually prefer hanging out my clothes to dry, which is interesting, except for if I need something. Then I wish I had a dryer, but just briefly. So, and a lot of that has to do with the weather. It's my battery's dying. For some reason, it's not staying plugged into the wall. Okay, guys. I'll catch up with you again later. You know the updated plan. Talk to you soon.